do it.
We haven't done a double episode in a minute, but I'm happy to be doing it today. A lot of things going on in the Brooklyn Nets world with this bubble tournament or whatever we want to call it in the most magical place in the world. What is that the proper thing? What's the catchphrase for Disney World again?
Yeah, I'm not much of a big roller coaster amusement park guy. So I've been there before. I think the most magical place. I
In
think
the
that.
world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not too many magical things is happening. The squad that we've got, no DeAndre,
Yep.
no Claxton,
Nope.
uh, Nwaba, recovering from an Achilles and signed with Houston.
Yep. Who was low key one of my favorite Nets guys in a while.
I liked him as well. There's a few other power forwards out there, but what is Sean Marks trying to accomplish? Did he fix any problems, especially now that Chandler is not playing?
You know, it's funny because I was gonna make a comparison as a struggling Mets fan in that, like, basically for my entire lifetime, with maybe a couple of years here and there, the Mets basically have like never had that great of a bullpen. And there's some years where it's just totally ignored, and they almost go into it being like the analogy I always give is you ever study for a test and you say to yourself, look, if they test me on like the 50 to 60% of stuff that I know, I'm going to do really well. But if they actually test on like everything, I'm pretty screwed. I'm toast. And every year, the Mets usually do very poorly because their bullpen is always subpar at best, minus a few years where every single answer they were going for happened to be on that test. And the Nets with their power forward position is kind of similar. I don't like there's like plug and play. They managed to develop like point guards really well and some two guards well, but there's just something about like that four position that like even dating back to the D Will like playing Reggie Evans in a playoff game like days. It's just it's bizarre.
So,
and that's pre-Marks.
But whose fault is it though? I used to think it was Kenny Atkinson's fault. I thought this is Kenny Atkinson's system. Sean Marks is getting players for Atkinson's system. Now, you have no world beaters. Let's go over this roster. I'll name them one by one.
Yep.
So DeAndre's out.
Yep.
Chandler's out.
Yep.
Durant out.
Yep.
Kyrie out.
Yep.
They added Jeremiah Martin.
Yep.
Why the fuck did they add Jeremiah Martin? What?
Yeah. 6'3".
What is he gonna do?
And and Claxton out.
Yeah, I thought I said that, but yeah, Claxton out. What is he going to do?
Yeah, they're gonna have. It looks like this roster will have like basically 2 or 3 guys above 6'7", which will be Allen, Kuruks, and Musa.
You can't. Musa's a shooting guard.
With Prince and TLC are both 6'7", but they both play smaller than that. TLC especially. I'm shocked that TLC is 6'7".
He's not 6'7". No way.
And he's like TLC 6'7", 210. So he's like
according to the NBA, he's 220. I don't believe that. That's a French lie.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a picture of him right now. He's got such a francophone face. Look at him. He looks like he eats baguettes every single day.
Oh yeah.
And he smokes like cigarettes with no filter, and he drinks really hard coffee. Like total stereotype.
You had a good tweet though of guys that I thought, which look, I think I'm probably a little bit more I probably end up being a little bit less critical of Marks than you do. But you had a good tweet about a bunch of power forwards that Marks has missed out on, which I thought was a fair criticism. I think who did have it? It had Christian Wood on it.
Yep.
You had Hartenstein.
Yep. Christian Wood is someone they could have had. They could have just signed him. He
Yep.
was sitting out there with no team for a minute before this season and before the last season. They made trades and they kept things on that I feel like fix none of their problems. One of the Nets' problems is they get out on fast breaks and they don't have players that just dunk it. If the block starts with Jared Allen, he's gonna be the last person to come down, and they're trying to throw lobs to Joe Harris sometimes, and it's just ridiculous. You need athletes, you need size, you need people who are going to score. Like if you have an open dunk that is going to make that dunk every single time, and as clear hyperbole because I'm only hoping for 98% of
Yeah.
the time, and the Nets don't have that. They don't have that guy. How many times they run on a fast break and they just blow it because of the way this team is built? And now I'm the thing that scares me the most is that I thought it was Kenny Atkinson pulling the trigger on all these, guards at the same time. And now I'm afraid it's Sean Marks. If Sean Marks is building this team, there's three things it could be. Are you ready for this, Sam?
Lay it on.
My three conspiracy theories. Number one, this is the way he really likes to play. The last year he was with the Spurs, they had a small ball-ish type of team, but Tim Duncan was at center. They had Splitter at power forward. That's size. That's not a small ball team at all. So he didn't get this from the Spurs. Does he possibly have a analytics guy that's totally Houston Rockets minded? Maybe, but the Houston Rockets have elite small power forwards. They have the best power forward defender in the league in PJ Tucker. You don't have PJ Tucker on this team. Taurean Prince is not PJ Tucker. Now, Rodion's could potentially be AK-47, but he's been kind of shut out, and they've messed around with that kid so much that I don't think he's mentally stable to be, But if he just goes out there and plays and just has no pressure and he just balls, I think Rodion's would be fine. But he is the only person on this team qualified to play for. Taurean Prince has shown us that he can't do it. Is this Sean Marks' plan? Let's talk about my first theory. What do you think? You think Sean Marks believes in this small ball nonsense?
So it's weird, right? Because if he totally bought into it, then I think he would have gone with more of those like 3-guard lineups that were never really done. Whether it could have been involving like Dinwiddie, D'Lo, LeVert, or this year with like Kyrie, Dinwiddie, LeVert, which didn't really happen that much. Even
Atkinson tried it. He tried it. It failed miserably.
Yeah. So
but he tried it.
So I mean, I don't. So it's weird. I mean, look. The other answer is look. We wanted to go relatively small, and to be honest, like I've struck out because the Taurean Princes and the Travion Grahams and the Quincy Aces of the world have obviously.
Oh my God!
Have obviously never worked out. But like, I mean. I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, the elephant in the room the Durantula in the room is that he's the guy that should be playing the four. Like he like when Durant is in, that is the spot if you want to go with like the quote unquote smaller ish ball lineup, or even having him honestly at the five. But and then I guess you'd still need a four anyway.
So let's
But
talk. So that's theory number two. Let's extrapolate on that theory. The reason why we have such shitty power forwards is because Sean Marks thinks that Kevin Durant is our four for next year.
yep.
Does that mean Joe Harris is our three?
I mean, I think the team is going to be versatile enough that I think they'll probably end up doing a lot of switching between the guys because like Harris is obviously slower, but he's also strong, and so he can guard the big like a smaller four or a not as long three. That's not as quick. Whereas Levert kind of has more of the Levert has more of the length and more of the speed and the quickness, similar with Spencer. But the one thing you did say, which I do think should not go understated, is like the notion that throughout this whole year that and even last year that the way that Kurucs was played and his up and down minutes is like identical and very similar to like managers putting like a rookie who comes in at third base in the seventh inning, gets one at bat in a big spot, doesn't do well, then sits, then gets a start, does well, then again sits. Like it's like you need some type of rhythm, and I could not agree more that I think the way Kurucs has been treated has just been like bizarre. Like it just doesn't really make any sense, especially because the guy like hustles and he does a lot of the things that the Nets need, especially like when the Nets have a lot of games where they look unbelievably lackadaisical.
Yeah.
And like he comes in and immediately like you talked in part one of this podcast, you talk about spine. Like he jumps off the page as like a guy who could be that person if he became more of a focal point.
Right, he was a part of that culture building from last year.
Yep.
If the continuity of just keeping that going, that kid is not going to be an all-star, most likely not, right?
No.
But what he could be is a super glue guy that's going to be tough, that's going to take some hard fouls, that's going to defend somebody that you're not going to want to defend. And he's so young that you're not necessarily, kind of trying to say, all right, here, I need the instant results of Rodions Kurucs. But if you believe in him and you take the leash off of him and just let him run around and do things, I think you have a player that solves your problems. That you could actually say, all right, Rodions, go hard foul Embiid. He's crazy enough to do it. I think they really mishandled that situation. But now back to the point though. Do you think the reason why we don't have power forwards is because Sean Marks thinks that it's KD's job?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's basically going to be playing in that role or something similar to it, especially if it continues this way with them having two centers on the two like centers on the roster. Like Allen and Jordan can't play anywhere else. Those guys are not fours. Those guys are fives, and that's it.
Yep.
Like
Jordan is out, so I don't know. We don't even have to talk about him for this thing coming up. And
I just meant even for the future, like unless Allen is traded, like you're gonna have two real fives on that roster.
Yeah, and the way they use fives is it's criminal. See, DeAndre Jordan, when he was winning, being up there in NBA All Defense and nominated for Defensive Player of the Year, when he was that type of guy, he always had a Blake Griffin next to him. He always had a big next to him that allowed him to do his job. On the Nets, they basically play. It's not a zone, but the way the center plays, because he's the only one that can protect the rim. He's basically just playing underneath the rim, and then he has to react to if his man or if the person he's supposed to be guarding makes a move to the basket,